What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I am your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, and on this week's show, XFL potential TV deal announcement timeline. I'll get into that in a little bit, plus the winner of the Mega Bowl, and so much more. So how do you get in touch with the show? It's simple. You email podcast at xflnewshub.com with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Also, remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcast, and we will read it on the show. And remember, as always, if you're watching on the YouTubes, like and subscribe to our channel. Also, we are simultaneously, hopefully this works, checking broadcasting live, not only on the YouTube, but also on Facebook. We're testing this out, see if it works all right. We've got viewers on YouTube. We got a ton of viewers on Facebook as well. I'm going to try to get in and see if I can get in on the chat. I don't really see anywhere on this thing I can get in the chat. But let me see if I can get in the chat and say hello to our friends on the interwebs live. Let's see here, because this is the first. I was like, oh, let's try something new. Now we are all right. Let's go. Let's see. Can I get to the chat? Can I just open this? Can I view the stream, which will be delayed because it's broadcasting? Can I see the chat? All right, I can see the chat. Oh, and I can mute myself. All right, there we go. I could see the chat. Chris, Paladin, Javier, Brian, Andrew checking in on the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I wanted to give just to let you guys know that actually I'm going to take a break. So I'm going to take a little vacation the next 2 weeks. So I just wanted to let you know this will be the last show of June, and then we'll be back July 12th, Monday, July 12th. Also, that same week, we'll be back with our CFL show, which is going to be Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., starting July 14th. So that's right, we're going to go live on the YouTubes as well as live on the Facebooks. See how this goes. That's why I was like, all right, this is a great way to test this kind of stuff out. So check out those things in July, because we have the CFL season about ready to kick off. Training camps will begin. We'll get into that. Working on some great guests to not only bridge that gap between the American fans learning about the CFL for the first time. That's kind of like the whole point of CFL News Hub and what we're doing here. And I really wanted to separate the two with XFL stuff. And then with CFL stuff, we have the ELF, the European League of Football, ELF, which is funny. No one calls the NFL NIFL, but we all call ELF the European ELF, European League of Football, ELF, but we always keep calling it ELF. We had Matt Lyons and Josh Davis covering that on CFL News Hub, so we'll be able to get into that kind of stuff on the CFL channel. And then here with you guys, we'll get into the XFL stuff, USFL stuff. There's just too much content to try to just do everything in one show. I figured let's break it up and have some fun with it. So I'll be off for the next 2 weeks, taking a break, and then we'll be back in July, charged up, ready to go, full steam into the CFL season. Super excited to learn about that. I've never said I was an expert. I get criticized for, not knowing this, that, and the other thing. Do you know anything about AEW? Do you know anything about the XFL? Do you know anything about C# programming, for example, or ASP.net? No, I don't expect you to. But if you're interested in it and want to talk about it and get into it, by all means, you can do whatever you want. And I think it's a good thing that you should be able to do that. I'm not an expert now, but I will tell you this, by the end of the season, I will be. So settle down, and I'm not worried about that. So remember, smash the like button, subscribe to not only XFL News Hub, but CFL News Hub on YouTube, because I can't wait to get into DFS and fantasy. I went over to TSN site, and when you go to try to sign up for fantasy baseball or football, it just redirects you to ESPN. they don't have anything, at least right now, when it comes to fantasy CFL. That's how I learned the players real quick, is doing fantasy and DFS. And I'm super excited that we can have lists of, the top quarterbacks, guys to look out for, and so much more. But we can focus that on the CFL show, CFL News Hub show. That's all it's going to be called. And we'll switch that and make that into a podcast, and then push that out there too. And then we have XFL Week in Review as well. So lots of content, football content that's not related to the NFL. I'm super excited about the CFL season, trying to lock down tickets to go to games, to game at least, and then, of course, the Grey Cup as well. So hopefully I get to meet some of you guys out there as well. Super excited stuff. All right, so first, before we get into, I have a interesting thing I was thinking about, and I figured I'd bring it to you. But before we get into that, we have to get into, of course, the Mega Bowl. The linemen, your linemen, my linemen, the first and only last time we probably hear from the linemen because of with the whole USFL thing. The linemen win the 2021 Spring League Mega Bowl. Hopefully we'll get some ratings from Mike Mitchell soon this week. I'm sure they definitely want to pump that out. So the linemen defeated the Jousters. Remember, the Jousters had some former XFL guys on there. The Jousters, they beat the Jousters 26-23 to claim the Mega Bowl. So that wraps it up. Ryan Willis from Virginia Tech and the linemen completed a come-from-behind 26-23 victory over the Jousters at Rice Stadium in Houston. The linemen won the TSL's North Division with a 5-1 record and showed their toughness to claim the title over the TSL South Division winners, the Jousters. Mega Bowl MVP Ryan Willis. Love to see him in the XFL now. 2 for 37, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hit Isaac Zicko, 3 yards, 40, and 2 TDs for a 16-yard touchdown with 52 seconds left to finish off the comeback after trailing 14-9 at half and secure the champion. The Jousters were led hard fought by, of course, Luis Perez from the New York Guardians. He was 15 of 21, 203 yards, 2 picks, and 2 touchdowns. Josh Simmons had 2 catches for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. So coming into the Mega Bowl, the linemen had the league's number 1 ranked offense, led by Ryan Willis, 1,680 yards, 13 touchdowns, and Coach Hal Mumme. Of course, he was part of the Dallas Renegades, but then he was kind of let go towards the end. In contrast, the Jousters relied on Kevin Gilbride, New York Guardians, defense, and timely plays from Luis Perez. So there you have it, the Mega Bowl. Ryan Willis and the linemen take the win there in the Mega Bowl. Mike Mitchell had some recaps of the season. He's got a full breakdown of the game if you want to check out that. The linemen were 5-1, Jousters were 4-2. A full breakdown. Some TSL players signed with NFL teams this past week and throughout the season. So if you want to check out Mike Mitchell's big-time breakdown, you can head over to XFL News Hub. But the Mega Bowl is it. It's over. And your champion is the lineman. You guys in the chats, did you guys watch the... I got to do this to do the chats. You guys in the chats, did you guys watch the Mega Bowl? Anybody in there watch the Mega Bowl? Andrew said, glad Luis Perez finally got to finish an actual season of pro football after his AAF and XFL campaign got the plug pulled on them. Very true. Richard says the Mega Bowl was a good game. So there you have it. Everybody's watching the Mega Bowl. Some people watched it. I mean, it shows you the level of interest of football in the United States, that these things did well, and Fox is continuing to be interested in taking this further with the USFL in the future. Some other news this week, which was kind of interesting, was RedBird wants to unload its stake in the NFL and Major League Baseball property. So RedBird Capital this is by our own Josh Davis, has a third of ownership group of the XFL. Many consider them the bank that Danny and Dwayne Johnson will use to restart the XFL and their proposed partnership or merger with the CFL. RedBird, while is in the process is going on, is looking to open up some capital that might be worth $200 million. What's on the table is 40% of one team, a group that works with the NFL PA and Major League PA for its licensing of names and likeness. Supposedly, Oliver Luck was involved with one team. But we don't know if where that led. Many in the finance world believe that the total property is worth $2 billion, which is why the 40% value is where the firm sets its asking price. The thought is that RedBird invested in the business, got more than what it was aiming for in equity, and now wants out. The others, close to the football side of it, believe that it's a move to open up capital to help fund potentially what's coming for the XFL. RedBird's role in the partnership includes negotiating terms for one team, finding new collective rights opportunities, and growing value. It makes a percentage of the return from revenue. The firm is betting on the name, image, likeness, NIL space will explode with colleges coming online, and thinks non-fungible NFTs will play a factor, adding the built-in licensing deals from aforementioned companies. And it sees value with one team. That's from the CNBC article. One team launched in 2019 is fastly growing, the firm. But this is on the heels of the RedBird hiring Kevin LaForce, working with somebody we'll talk about just here in a second. So who knows what's going on with the XFL or RedBird selling this? Does this just what they just kind of want to, they made their money and they want out? Or is this potentially going down the line for something bigger that they're trying to do, is to actually have cash on hand to do the XFL stuff? So we'll have to kind of see. I think this is just unrelated, personally, just from reading the tea leaves. I'm not sure if they already have, I would assume, cash on hand. And why would they want to get out now? I think they get out while the getting is good. I don't know. Maybe who knows what's going on behind the scene there, my friends. All right. Let's see here. So what I wanted to talk about is my kind of content. So everything that happened over the weekend, that this past week, got me thinking. So you all, of course, remember the XFL co-owner Danny Garcia shows off that content plan and deliverable. Now, the content plan, and this was after she did the picture of the NDA and the bathroom. So the content and deliverable plan is a final version of it. And this is done by Jay Rothman, which got me kind of thinking that what's the timeline for this? Okay, so if this is the final thing, like where are we in the cycle when it comes to television stuff? And what I found is the pitch season, which is, let's see here. So the pitch season, so unlike pilot season, pitching season does not have a firm start date because even the major networks will begin hearing pitches earlier in the year. However, late May to early June is when pitching season really gets underway. So here's my take on when I kind of think we should see some news when it comes to an XFL TV deal. So if they're finishing this content and delivery plan now, and that was the final draft, you're talking mid-June, this means that was essentially created for the pitching season. Now, the fall season has already been, TV season has been announced, but the spring season has not, which leads me to believe that this content and deliverable plan is now getting in the hands of television networks as to what kind of TV shows they have planned and content they have planned for starting in the spring and into the summer and fall, and potentially kind of their grand vision, and selling this content and deliverable plan to a network, whether they're selling pieces of it or that kind of stuff. I assume that the players involved, it's like not everything that in this content and deliverable plan would go to an NBC. It would go to, okay, some shows would go on streaming. This one would go on the network. These are the kind of deliverables that we're going, and content we're trying to deliver to you as a partner at a price of XYZ millions of dollars. And maybe this potentially just it talks about the XFL and doesn't include the CFL at all. And that kind of makes me wonder if doesn't include the CFL at all, that this is just a separate XFL package to American broadcasters. And remember, Mike Mitchell talked about the parent company, and then the CFL and XFL are under it. Maybe this is something that would come later, because you remember the CFL is just trying to get through this season, and the XFL is trying to get through their first season and get things underway. So to me, if this is the pitch season, this clearly what she showed here is what they are delivering during the pitch season to networks. That means that the latest November is usually when they announce shows coming on in the spring. That's the latest. But usually in August is also kind of when you would hear about shows coming in the fall or shows getting green lit, that kind of thing. So based on this timeline, it wouldn't surprise me at all if by August we hear something from the XFL as far as a TV package and potential content going forward. Not because they don't want to maybe keep that under wraps until later, but at the latest, if they have anything television-wise coming to any streaming service or network service, that really needs to be wrapped up and announced by November, because these networks are already going to start putting out content. I mean, they've already announced the fall season already now. So that means that they're going to have to announce the spring season at some point by November. And if they're going to do production work on stuff, then you would start to see like, they're looking for an editor on this new XFL show, or you know what I mean? Like now maybe they would just keep it all under wraps at $7 Productions, and we wouldn't hear that. But clearly they would need to bring in more talent to work on some of these shows, and we would start to hear that. So I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if we hear something by August. If this is the content and deliverable plans, now you're getting June and July, pitching all of this stuff to networks. They can't keep that. Now that NDA, I assume, is for the CFL piece, not what's going on in the XFL. You could see, August, some kind of talk of a television deal. Then potentially in the fall, a CFO, a chief football officer, gets hired, and then by November, here's what the show is going to be on, like more detail about what specifically is coming in November. The other thing, and this is what happened this past weekend also, which made me think, is if you didn't notice and you weren't on our channel, but the XFL had 50% off jerseys on Father's Day this past weekend, which made me think too. Now you can get Houston Roughnecks gear on this as well, and the whole NFL logo thing. But so these are $225 jerseys. Let's see here. Authentic game jerseys. The sub-replica jerseys were already 30% off, but the sale didn't include the screen-printed jerseys. The size selection is slim. There's not much to pick from. And this is what's got me thinking, maybe there's something new on the horizon. So if you're a business and you're the XFL and you've got this content and deliverable plan, the other part for them is, what are you going to do when it comes to the buying season? I mean, this hat, and I'm wearing this hat, this XFL hat, because this was the big XFL hat that you could buy during the last year's Christmas sale. So they're not replenishing the old merch either. So the XFL would be not very bright, and they are. They're clearly going to do some kind of XFL sale during Black Friday selling XFL merch. They have to. I mean, there's the plenty. You can see when you go through what's out there available, nothing is getting reprinted and restocked. They're just getting rid of the old merch. You would think perhaps that they would have new merch on the horizon as well. So if you're going to announce, here's the TV deals are coming, here's kind of a time frame of everything, and what they're doing, they need to make those announcements maybe even in October, because you want to have merch available for people to buy in November, and you want to get people fired up about the XFL. So that's why I'm saying that I think you could hear an announcement for a TV deal from the XFL by August, and then a CFO and other announcements in October to help with the buying season, because you got a property here, you want to sell merch, and you can sell merch during the holidays, especially if you drop, for example, a new team logo for the Houston Roughnecks. But I was even thought, so that's kind of where I think goes. I think we're going to hear something in August as far as a TV deal goes. By October, CFO, potential, merch for the Christmas buying season. And one other piece to really crank up, and I have spoken with people as inside the XFL as you could possibly get over the last couple of years. And I've told them, about fantasy football and how popular and the interest was. And they know it too, is anytime they talk, and I've told them this, anytime they talk about expansion teams, fans go nuts. So if I'm the XFL and I have the USFL in hanging out, clearly I would assume the USFL, as long as their logo situation is what it is and fixed or not fixed, whatever the deal is going on over there, I would assume they're going to have a bunch of merch to launch during Christmas or the holiday season, as they should. But the XFL, if they really want to, because it's been radio silence except for some hints from Danny Garcia, if they want to create a buzz in August, the CFL season kicks off, they announce their TV deal, and potentially, what if they were to throw in expansion talk? So you have the CFL starting, you have the XFL announcing a TV deal in August, and then sprinkled in there as well is an announcement coming in October for a new XFL franchise for the 2023 season. I mean, clearly they have to say that the 2022 season is closed. We've kind of told you all that announcement needs to come. But I wonder if they're going to get a TV deal in place first, and then, because it's like, oh, that sucks. Oh, but there's a TV deal. Oh, but here comes the CFO. Oh, but we're adding one or two franchises to the league. Now, I would say that the adding of the XFL franchises is probably like 20%. But that is a carrot to hand in your hand if you need to generate buzz and interest for the next year, since you're not going to have any games. Like, that's a carrot, a weapon that you could use. As you could say, hey, we've whittled it down to 5 cities who could potentially get XFL franchises for the upcoming 2023 season. We will announce the two new franchises perhaps in October, with merch all set up for the Christmas buying season. So I think we're going to get some things, and this is a dead zone for football in general. I know people that work in the NFL, and after the draft comes and after free agency, this kind of lull between June and July was in a lot of NFL insider people and NFL reporters kind of take a break, because there's really nothing going on until training camp hits in August. So this is kind of a lull for them. Even the fantasy guys, after the season's over, they take off, and then they start to build up for the draft, and they will start to build up now. But the reporters, because this is a dead zone for pro football, and this is when they all kind of take, and the XFL knows that. So in August, as you get interest in the NFL, interest in the CFL, then is the time the XFL could announce TV deal, potential CFO, and tease something for October that would lead into the spring television season, as well as merch and excitement lead in that Christmas holiday buying season. So that's kind of my take on the content delivery plan, and that's what so what's going to be interesting for us as fans, and the things that the XFL trickles out between June and July and August, is what kind of other things potentially come out, teases from Danny Garcia in particular come out that could potentially make this be true, because you need to announce something going on. I mean, like we've said all along, there is no 2022 season. You need to hire coaches and team presidents. All that hiring needs to happen in February. I don't think RedBird wants to start bringing those people in. They need to start doing that. If they're going to bring people in and do that hiring process, clearly Jeffrey Pollack can take care of a lot of that. But still, your CFO, you're going to want to have that guy in place to kind of have a say in what's going on. So that's why I think August is a big month, and October are two big months for the XFL to look out for. So let me know what you think in the comments, whether you're watching live on the YouTubes or live on Facebook. Let us know the comments of what you think there. Also, let me know what you think, what's going on in the chat room. We'll get into what you guys think in a little bit. Finally, one other piece of XFL news. Demorne Pearsonell signs with the Denver Broncos. So another XFL guy signs with the Broncos for an NFL team, which is very, very cool too. All right, so we're going to take a commercial break, which I realized I didn't queue up. So here's what we're going to do
on the Markcast.
Stand by.
I was going to say, welcome back to the show, Paul. Remember that one time
I totally didn't queue up.
Our good friend Brian Woods decided to relaunch a football league?
Here's what you missed last week.
There we go. See, I totally screwed up. Imperfection. So we're going to take a commercial break, check in with the Markcast, and then we'll get back to your social media stuff and you guys in the chat real soon, my friends. So stay tuned. All right.
Here's what you missed last week on the Markcast.
Tremendous show today, not 3.5 hours and 5 guests. Well, it all kind of worked out. So Jim Mullen, this was like a late ad. He was just like tweeting about the schedule. Obviously, the CFL schedule is released. CFL is returning to play. Everyone knows all that stuff. Jim was tweeting about some weird, like, hey, this is kind of weird about the schedule. That's kind of weird about the schedule. I'm like, do you want to come on the show for like 10, 15 minutes just to kind of like share your thoughts? And he's like, sure. And so we talked for like 45 minutes. Jim brought up the XFL. Jim brought up USFL. Jim brought up all these things. But Jim did a lot of homework. He challenged you to a bet involving the Mariners and the Yankees. So I hope that you stay tuned for that. Jim was very fiery about the Mariners v. Yankees. And Jim even wore like a special jersey for you. It was a whole thing. Yeah,
I don't hate the Mariners, though. I don't hate the Mariners. I like and appreciate the Mariners. I don't know why. I know why there's so much hostility, but it's one-sided. It's just one-sided.
And then we had set up Rod, friend of the show, Rod Peterson, to come back on. I thought it was a good spot for Rod because, obviously everyone's positive. CFL media. It's an exciting week. Obviously, we're Debbie Downers, and we kind of want to know, like, realistically, what are we doing here? So I figured Rod would kind of cut through a lot of that BS. Really tremendous performance from Rod. I thought a really good appearance. We talk a lot about like the negativity that he was surprised about the XFL stuff. Again, Rod brought up the XFL. I was going to talk CFL, but a lot of that stuff, the media, the stuff we're going through with the XFL news. I just thought it was a really like open, honest conversation with Rod. I know Rod's always like on like we are, but I thought that we got a little behind the curtain. So I thank you very much for Rod.
And Kevin Kugler from the TSL Mega Bowl, the Mega Bowl.
Kevin's been doing the announcing for a lot of the spring league games, and he's got lots of thoughts about USFL and Fox and kind of how all that stuff's going to go. Great insights from Kevin talking about like the research and prep that they have to do the shows.
The Markcast is available wherever you download podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google. It's all over the place. It's also on XFL News Hub and YouTube.
What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google Play Store or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today.
All right, we are back. Checking in on the chat room. Javier says, talking about this Mega Bowl. It's like between the Renegades and Guardians. True on that. Stock Speed Tech. Good. A few crazy fumbles, but fun Mega Bowl. Richard says, Luis Perez is still my favorite quarterback. We all used to love Cardell. And then, man, those last couple games. Mega J 51. Mega J 51. Are you cousins to the Mega Bowl? Says, saw Perez at the Guardians Wildcats game. He looked pretty good at times. I like Luis Perez. Would love to see him back in the XFL. Says, hoping for big news in August, maybe on the anniversary of the new ownership buying the league. Boom! Another potential. That's a great point, Mega J51. Could this announcement come at the same time? I like it. This also proves my little tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. Paladin Demo said, I'd rather get the merch in person. True, me too. Charlie says, Perez is good to be in an NFL team or a USFL QB next year at least. Yeah, I'm really curious about what they're going to do with these USFL contracts and players. I mean, if I'm interested in the XFL, I mean, I would definitely play in the USFL in 2022 to make my way to the XFL. I cannot see the USFL paying more than the XFL would. Just my take there. But we could see that USFL is going to be the most important USFL season that they've ever had because this is going to lead into the XFL. Jack checking in said, whatever happened to that June Jones interview where he said he was hired with the new XFL and they had TV deals? Yes. So I stay away from June Jones quotes because it always gets me into trouble. So he says things, and I love June Jones, but he says things, and I don't know if it's true. I think he's in the know. I think when June Jones appears on radio shows, I think the XFL is kind of like, is he going to say something? I think he was just more assuming rather than he was in the know. Or maybe they told him, but then they were like, June, don't say anything. I don't know. So I've seen June Jones appear on a couple radio, and I love June Jones. Mahalo, Hawaii, love it. I love, clearly Houston Roughnecks. I kind of stay away from his quotes because I've gotten in trouble with that stuff before. So, but he did say stuff like that. Chris checking in says, enough with the carrots. Time for the stick. Interesting, yeah. Mega says, Jay says, we all know rock can create buzz. No question about that. All right, let's get into lots of people in the chat room checking in. I love it. Love it. We got a lot of people on the stream. All right, everything's working out. Streaming to these other channels, to Facebook as well. I'd be really curious to see how this Facebook thing works out. All right, let's get into some social media stuff. First, what if Dwayne The Rock Johnson shows up at a CFL game? This was Dave Naylor was talking about this on a radio show. Kenneth says, So what, LOL? I don't need celebrity appearances. I need tangible proof this league is making tangible progress in ensuing another season. And then Steven says, so far, crickets. I understand. Hey, listen, I'm poking fun. I'm having fun with you guys. I understand the frustration, but I also understand the business side. And I know our guys are talking with people in the XFL and everything around. Like, I'm telling you, things are moving in a direction. They're just very tight-lipped about everything right now as they complete kind of where they're going with. That's why I'm saying I think August is a real critical month. And I'm with you too. Listen, I dabble in crypto, Dogecoin News Hub. I've kind of talked about that. That site just blew up, even though crypto is down big time today. It's very sad and depressing, but it'll bounce back, hopefully. What was my point? There's a lot of speculation going on in the crypto world. And there's a lot of speculation goes on with the XFL world. And you have to look at things not in the short, but in the long run. And I think the long run, crypto will be fine. I think it's interesting technology. I would love to bring it to some of the things we're doing here, which is a long-term vision. But I do believe that that things are in the works, and I think it's going to be really cool when it comes out. We just kind of have to be patient right now. And we have the CFL season to really learn about and learn about the players. I mean, I'm super excited. And I've said before, like, I'm supposed to be we're trying to plan the Miami Ravens game, and I'm more excited about heading to Hamilton for a Tiger Cats game than anything else. I would be super excited for that. And I'm looking forward to hopefully locking all that stuff down. More on the Facebooks about this CFL returning August 25th. Donna says, great news. I agree with Donna there. On the RedBird stuff, Javier says, so they won't help the XFL conflict, and Richard says, conflict of interest holdings? No and no. Relax. They're going to help the XFL. No worries there. On the Twitter, Prolific Radio says, let's go Spring League. He's got all the USFL 2022. Oh, he's got Generals in there, Bandits, Panthers, a bunch of other logos in there. Fans are excited about the USFL. I mean, if I thought the USFL was going to kick the XFL's butt, I would tell you I think the USFL is going to kick the XFL's butt. I don't think it's going to. If you're going to pick between the two spring leagues that would work, the XFL could be the one. Now, I mean, it could totally happen where Fox, they do the USFL this spring to kind of keep the seat warm for the XFL to return, and then they can be like, okay, thanks. Hey, Woods, we helped you out to get your kind of league off the ground, but we're really interested in working with The Rock, and the XFL and RedBird Capital. So maybe we'll do something different. I mean, it would be cool. I mean, I would love if they all kind of worked in unison, the USFL, the XFL, and the CFL somehow. I think the USFL thinks that they can be the dominant spring football league, and we'll see. And if they are, then we're covering it full time. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Let's see what else on the YouTubes. Isaiah says XFL, CFL, XFL, and USFL. Hashtag, I like them all. Chris says Mega Bowl. He's got the lineman by 13 points. That is not right. Lineman 43, Jousters 30. That was incorrect. We were going to give away some merch, weren't we? If anybody picked the right score. TSL is part newcomers morphed into part of the USFL. Yes. It's I like I've said before, I think the USFL. And that was interesting that they came out so early. If I was going to do a USFL announcement, I would have done it around the Mega Bowl, which makes me think that they kind of rushed it out because potentially the XFL was doing something and they got wind of it. Conspiracy theory, I don't know. But There could be, there could not be. I might think that there is a little bit. Just kind of my conspiracy theory. XFL Fanatic believe 2022 is the year. I hope so. That would be good. Paladin Demo, my Mega Bowl picks, Lyman 47, 26. He got the 26 right, but wrong team. Hey, if the XFL has a season in 2022, that would be great. I just don't know. I mean, if they did, think about it. Is it possible for the XFL to have a 2022 season? Yes, anything is possible. August is when it has to happen because you need to have a draft in October. I mean, yes, you would need a yes. It would have to, if the XFL is going, that's why I really, and it goes back to my theory that August is when we're going to hear something. If the XFL is going to play in 2022, they have to get their coaches, get everything in line in August for a draft in October, and then training camp in November, and then we're off to the races. So August is the month. Either you're going to have a season in 2022 or it's going to be punted. I'm saying 90%, 95%. I don't know for certain, but I would say it's in the 80% range. I don't know if this, who knows what happened behind the scenes with the USFL, if they were like, oh, wow, this could be a big problem. We need to get out early. We can do this. But August is your time frame. So you're going to have to hear something one way or the other. If you're not hearing a season by August, I mean, you need coaches, you need season ticket packages to go on sale, and you need all of those things to occur, the season tickets and all that other stuff to occur during the buying season in October and November. So August is the month. Now, I don't know if they're going to want to take any of the CFL's thunder, but it wouldn't shock me if it's the week before CFL kickoff and let the CFL have its run, or a week after the CFL has its kickoff. Because they're not going to want to go, they don't want to make an announcement before the CFL's Labor Day, because that's like a huge weekend. So it would have to be so somewhere around that time. They'd have to do something. All right, let's go more to social. Outdoors on the Air says there are plenty of people up here, media especially, who claim to support the CFL but deep down want it to fail. I believe that is true. They're more than happy to try and accelerate its demise. CFL fans have been dealing with this garbage for years. Frozen Delta Record says that's not a fair statement. I do believe there's media in Toronto who would love the NFL. XFL would do nothing to help CFL in Toronto and Vancouver. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah. I mean, that's like the vibe I get with we just didn't have that there because in the American media, they didn't care and they were just focused on the NFL. So, I mean, there were some, but not many. Darren says XFL is for life and in 2022 to 2024. Okay. Battlehawks, Cacaw, Go Dragons, a couple teams there. D-Tom America, my idea of USFL team location names, what do you think? San Antonio Rebels, remember the Alamo. Texans being the Rebels to Mexico, not being racist. Memphis Riverboats, Birmingham Bandits, Michigan Panthers, New Jersey Generals, Orlando Outlaws, Oregon Pioneers, Oakland Pirates. Interesting there, I like those. Joff says, integration plan, okay. Interesting. I like this. I like this kind of stuff. Let's see. He says 2022 CFL XFL coordinate season, mid-season XFL CFL All-Star game. See, there is no All-Star game. You can't do All-Star games with pro football. They just don't work. But okay. 2023 Canadian Division, American Division with interleague play, with each Canadian team hosting at least one XFL team playing CFL rules during the season, and each XFL hosting one CFL playing XFL rules. Grey Cup is alternatively held in Canada next year in the U.S. XFL rules used in American Grey Cup and CFL rules in Canadian Grey Cup. I'm telling you, I think they're going to be separate. Could be interesting to see how teams adapt. U.S. fans could see how the teams play in CFL rules. Canadian fans get to see how their teams play in XFL rules. Teams can trade up to a trading deadline between leagues would not be an issue. Thoughts? I don't know. Frozen says not sure how different rules, field sizes, different times of year. The CFL is not a spring league. He says CFL rules in Canada, American rules in the States. I thought I was clear, but perhaps not. Also, I did not propose a time of year of the season. That would need to be worked out. The problem with you can't flip the CFL rules with the XFL rules because the CFL rules have 12 players instead of 11. The field sizes are different. The downs are different. You just can't flip between the two. There would need to be a standard rules. If I am both, and if they ask me what to do, I would say with the 2023 season, we're separate. Let's separate and let's roll and let's not talk rules. Let's get the CFL. I mean, the other thing with the CFL is that their collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association ends for the 2021 season this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they just extended it 1 year into 2022 because it's like, okay, we just played this COVID you-know-what season. Let's play under the original bargaining agreement rules for 2022, and then in 2023 we renegotiate something new because we're doing something with the XFL, and then there's new money and other that kind of stuff. That's how I see it goes. I'm not worried. I wouldn't even deal with rules until sometime in the 2022 season, if that. That's the real tricky part. But if the XFL was like, we don't care, let's just use the CFL rules, I'm fine with that too. Like, again, people want to die at the hill. I'm going to die at the hill. First, the rules. Okay, go. Bye. Mike says, no FUD here. I wish to spread FIBB. Football is back, baby. I like that. True. I like spreading the FIBB as well. Thanks for another excellent show. I'm excited about the CFL news. I'm super excited about doing CFL on YouTube live show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for you guys to check out. And it's going to be awesome because a lot of the games will be, Thursday. There are some before and after. We'll just have the deal. It's not that big of a deal. But we're definitely going to do a show, and I'm excited working on players, working on personalities in the XFL or CFL world to come on the show to teach me, help teach. And again, this is what I've said about this show. To teach me and to teach American fans about the Canadian game of football. How could Canadians hate on that for criticizing? You don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. But meanwhile, my mission is to grab Canadians to teach us Americans the game of the CFL game. That's what our goal is. And yeah, in the end, I will be an expert. So no worries about that. Because I'm a smart guy. I went to college. I got my degree. Oh, and speaking of FUD, so don't worry, my FUD article, it will come out before the season starts. So no worries about that. I'm just waiting for a couple other. Of course, I'm going on vacation, but dotting the T's, crossing the I's, so to speak. And that's going to lay out some season-long FUD-busting content, and we'll see how it plays out. Because I have it's going to have predictions in it of who's going to say what during the season, and let's see if it comes out true. And, yeah, it's going to be fun. But that's coming out before the CFL season begins, and don't you worry about that. But yes, we are here to spread the fib. Football is back, baby. Let's see. I'm just as excited about the eventual return of the XFL. I am still a fan that wants and believes that the XFL-CFL merger would be coolest thing in the modern day sports. I believe it will be. I believe it will be one of the coolest things in modern day sports. I look forward to your new podcast. Thank you. I will be subscribing for sure. Those fingernails of Danny Garcia look like Blue Bombers colors. Please drink all you want on air from Canada. LOL. Can't wait for the next show. Thanks. Mike checking in. Thank you, Mike. And, of course, Jack always checking in with the nice video. Thank you, Jack, as well. Checking in there. So that's pretty cool. Yes, football is back, baby. No FUD zone. All about football and having fun with it, because that's what this is about. Too much drama, too much conspiracy theory. That was been the big, like, everything's a freaking conspiracy theory nowadays. It's kind of getting annoying. Everywhere. It's like permeated. In the crypto world, everything's a conspiracy theory. Everything with the XFL and CFL is a big conspiracy theory. It's the last 4 years the United States have turned into like everything's a conspiracy theory. I'm not going to get a jab because of conspiracy theory. I drink Coke over Pepsi because of conspiracy theory. Let's just have some fun. Speaking of fun, let's get to a phone call, shall we?
Hey, I just want to apologize. I didn't mean to be a FUD the other day, but I left a comment in your comment section. I believe it was on Twitter. I said something like, oh, good news, CFL starts in August. Bad news, CFL starts in August. The reason I was saying that is just because I was hoping to see football live sooner. That's all. I wasn't trying to be anything rude or disrespectful to the XFL or CFL by any means. I was just hoping that the CFL would start mid-July or even early July, because if you think about it, when they start in August, it's going to be great. They'll have great ratings, and then when the NFL kicks on about I think it's like 4 or 5 games in, then they're probably going to lose some ratings, obviously, to the NFL. But then I looked again at the schedule. Like, I like the Ottawa Red Blacks, so go Red Blacks. They have a lot of games at unique times. Like, there's like some games on Tuesday, some games on Wednesday. So it's very interesting how they're rearranging their schedule. I mean, maybe I read the schedule wrong, but if you look at that, maybe they did that on purpose so they're not directly competing with the NFL or college football, even for that matter, in the U.S. to get ratings through ESPN+. I know I got that, and that's how I'm able to watch Canadian games there. But just something to look at. And, again, I wasn't trying to be a FUD by any means. Just I was hoping to see the games live earlier. That's all. Hope you're having a great day. Love your show, and God bless.
All right, God bless to you, sir, as always. Yeah, and thanks for clarification on that. I would wish that they were starting in July too. I think that just the timeline, it wasn't a CFL thing, and fans are ready to get into it. Jim Mullins was on the Markcast, and they talked a lot about the scholarship, the schedule, and just how, if you want to definitely check out their show, then Jim Mullins, it was a good interview. While I was running my 10 miles, you can see my picture on Twitter. I ran 10 miles. I'm still like a little dehydrated. It's like 90 degrees out. Ran 10 miles, you gangster right here. Making it happen. Training for that half marathon. Anyways, and they talked a lot about the schedule and why things came out the way it is. We all wanted it to start. Would have great if it started sooner, but I think this is the time frame that worked best. I think it kind of worked out the way it did. I mean, if they tried to start earlier, it would have been a mess. But I appreciate the phone call and the clarification. But yeah, we all want it to start early. And believe me, is the football going to be great and this, that, and the other thing? I mean, there's going to be issues. Yeah, it should be just expected. And those who are FUDs will complain about it. And they've already set up their tweets right now, ready to go out before the season even starts to complain. And we'll cover that in the FUD-busting article on CFL News Hub that will come out before the season starts when I return from my little break there. And, yeah, I'll just leave it there. On to an email. What do we got here? Joe checking in. He says, the USFL people need to pump the brakes. Yes, Fox is behind the new and improved, quote, close quote, USFL, but let's be realistic. They're not signing contracts for stadiums. They have not announced the cities. They're not selling season tickets. Yes. Fox is not going to drop $250 million on this project. I agree with that. Fox needs linear content for their network. They did a beta test this year. They also have the XFL and AAF TV numbers, and they like those numbers. We are going to get an amped up version of the Spring League. Totally agree, 100%. I would expect something similar to this year, rebranded. hub cities, but close enough for bus travel, and that is what it's looking at. Probably pay the players. Coaches will be those out of work or those looking for work. But this idea that the USFL is coming back like Godzilla, stomping his way through Tokyo, is ridiculous. Take a deep breath, people. Therapy time with Joe. All right, you guys didn't hear, we hired Joe as another therapist here at XFL News Hub to help everybody get through change. But yes, I agree. The USFL Godzilla is not stomping through New York City, crushing the XFL. I'm not worried about that at all, my friends, whatsoever. All right, on to, let's see what else is going on with our friends in the chat room before we close it out. Let's see. XFL Fanatics says Peyton Manning would be a good CFO. I've heard that name out there before, but that would be a good one. I think I've even mentioned him before. Buddy checking in. Is the XFL and CFL merging together? Would it be called the CFL or XFL? I'm just telling you, in my personal opinion, that it's going to, especially between what I've heard, what Mike Mitchell has said, parent company, XFL, CFL, running in parallel, and then maybe something crossing over at some point. But remember, you've got the ELF. I'm not going to call it ELF anymore. ELF, even though everybody will. ELF, you've got the Mexican League. I think there's something down the pike. I think you would first, actually, wouldn't surprise me in the least. You have the parent company set up. You have the XFL, CFL. They just play, do their thing. European League gets added to the umbrella. Mexican League gets added to the umbrella. Then maybe we do something big. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. Richard says August and October would be great. I agree with that. Jacob says XFL announcements in August. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm thinking August would have to be the time frame. Charlie says XFL needs to talk about expansion cities. My top. See, as soon as I mentioned expansion, everybody's like, oh, yeah. If you want to grab the audience and get people excited about the XFL again and sell a bunch of merch, is you come now. But here's the thing with expansion teams. I think they had the team presidents in before. Well, you can announce the cities before you get the team presidents. I don't know, because the team presidents were and the coaches were there before the logos were announced. So you could do city. I don't know, but something along those lines. He said San Antonio. I can't do another Texas. Birmingham. He's got Columbus, San Diego, Hartford, Connecticut. I live outside Hartford. Sick of Giants, Patriots, and Jets. Talk to Mike Mitchell about that. He might not be friends with you. He's a big Jets reporter. Chris says, wondered who'd win in a game between the Detroit Wheels of the WFL and the Washington Federals of the USFL. They were the two worst teams in the league. Zach says, speculation here, what XFL games will be on NBC just because of the Rock's connections with them. And two expansion teams would be Toronto and Winnipeg. Could you imagine if that was something? That it was two CFL teams moved to the XFL. That would send shock waves across the world. Could you imagine that Montreal and Toronto or something like that in the played their final? I don't know, man. They couldn't sell tickets. I don't know what would happen. Chris says, go Argos. I don't think anything like that's going to happen. Any kind of mega merger. Let's see. Jack says, no, I think Woods just wants to get TSL over with before focusing shifts on the USFL. Brian says it's all coming into place for 23. You have to slowly put this together. RedBird is the key. Little Bitty Customs. Oh, great. We get another California or Texas team. I don't know about. We'll see those. I don't think they can do California or Texas team, but I hear what you're saying. 1701 Patrick, great show. So nice to see American football fans appreciate our CFL and the differences between this XFL and CFL. I don't know why I get criticized. I mean, there's just trolls everywhere. But I'm totally interested in. I'm not saying any one rules are superior over the other. Anytime I've talked about the CFL rules, I was just in the context of how would that sell towards TV networks in the United States? But whatever the rules are, I don't care, really, to be honest with you. Let's see here. That's really about it. Philip says, I really like the Canadian rules. Add the XFL extra point rules. Philip checking in. I kind of like that. Ed, so how about 14-game season and then playoff winners in both leagues play each other, XFL versus CFL? Yeah, it depends on the time of season. Now, maybe the first year in 2023 you have the championships. I don't know. There's so much to it because it's shifting the you could, if you did your championship game on Labor Day weekend, but that's a big thing. There's just too much. There's too many parts. That's why I don't think there's a merger. I just think parent company and then all these guys, pull from the same pool of, referees. Maybe their rules are similar, but they kind of eventually get tweaked a little bit along the way to get closer. I don't know if there's any crossover, but they have to have a relationship where they can, deal with players and player contracts and that kind of thing, and resources when it comes to social media production. I mean, how wouldn't $7 love to have an agreement so that they can do production stuff for CFL teams? You know what I mean? Like if we're supposed to take what the XFL and the CFL are talking about at face value, parent company, two things, and helping each other, everything else but the football piece. And they just kind of go on parallel paths. Chris says the Madagascar Monsters as a team name. Interesting there. All right, my friends, thanks for checking in. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Remember, we'll be back on the 12th. Enjoy some time away, July 4th weekend. Have a good time. We'll get back to it. If you want to email podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Always leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. And whether you're listening or watching on the YouTubes or the Facebook stream, it seems to have worked. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, remember to give us a like, leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe to our CFL News Hub channel as well. All right, let's see my closing notes. Remember, you got the apps. You can get this podcast anywhere you can get podcast stuff. xflnewshub.com/xfl-podcast. Yeah, the audio version took a little while to come out this past week. Leave us a review. We really appreciate that on Apple Podcasts. That's a big thing. And like and subscribe to both of our YouTube and CFL News Hub channels, and give us a like. And leave us a little comment on the show on Facebook as well. Facebook loves live content as well. All right, my friends, we will see you on the 12th for this show, and then our first inaugural CFL News Hub show on the 14th. And we'll be taking those 2 live shows a week all the way through the CFL season, and we'll just see where this takes us into 2022. All right, my friends, that's it for me, folks. And I will mahalo, stay safe out there, and I will see you all, I'm going to say, later.